Welcome. You are here with Dr. Nilda Perez with Business Foresight, creating strategies towards your extraordinary future. Dr. Nilda, Business Foresight Radio. I want to remind you that this is the last day. Tomorrow, this is it. Tomorrow it ends. So I want you to go to drnildaperez.com/contest. It's no longer a contest. Whoever signs up has the opportunity to get their foresight strategy and their marketing strategy for 2017. New year, fresh new. So I just want you to remember that. And today I have with me the lovely Sarah Andrus Taylor. And I'm very excited to have her here. I want to tell you a little bit about her. Sarah Taylor is the CEO of Enjoy Living. She is a health strategist. She has helped me tremendously. And her goal is to help people experience ultimate health through gratitude and knowing that they're wonderfully made bodies. She's a healing transformational flow over. Sarah has a social work degree and has found a new way to help people through health. And so here she is today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited. So one of the reasons, Sarah, why I had you is because you were so instrumental in helping me when I had a chronic sinus condition that the doctors told me I would be on very heavy medication for the rest of my life. One of the medications that they put me on is that prednisone, and that prednisone threw me for a loop physically, and I was a raving lunatic. I didn't even know myself.
Yeah.
And not that I'm docile, but I have to tell you, that was a whole other person.
Right.
And that just scared the living daylights out of me. And so as a result, I needed to find a new way. Yeah. And Tara, Tara Ham introduced me and to the healing properties and how I can heal myself. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because you really held my hand through the process. Yeah. So, okay, so tell me, how did you become you were a social worker. Yes. How did you become a health strategist?
So, I've always loved helping people, and my career as a social worker slowed down when I started having children. And if you had told me that I would be a health strategist 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have laughed and laughed and laughed, because I didn't really care much. I didn't feel unhealthy. No one around me seemed in that big of a need. But it was my own health crash that really got my attention. So I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and I have hypothyroidism. So the simple version of that is my thyroid doesn't work well. My body's actually attacking it, and the thyroid handles everything from energy to body temperature regulation to metabolism. So I should be extremely overweight, and I should be sleeping all the time, and I was very tired. My body hurt. I was a young mom. I only had 2 kids at the time, but the solutions that I was given were some really strong, dangerous drugs that may or may not work.
Right.
And what I was told just didn't really feel like an acceptable answer. So for me, I was in a place of such desperation, I was willing to try anything. So we started, I found a really good doctor in Birmingham who worked with me, and she taught me a lot about food. And I used to think the whole organic movement was kind of a joke, just for
kind of kooky,
whatever.
Yeah,
you
right,
you just want to spend more on those strawberries.
Right. Those strawberries, those are just as good as these. Actually, these look redder.
Right.
We didn't think about how and why.
Yeah. So it really, it took me getting to that place to become very open. And my children were struggling with different things. And I mean, when a mama's kids are struggling and there aren't answers, mom's going to find answers. And so so I did. And it was kind of our own personal struggles that really got my mind open. I started learning, researching, and started finding tools and natural ways to help our bodies. Our bodies are capable of healing themselves. They were designed to maintain and heal themselves if they're given what they need.
Right.
And none of us are deficient in prednisone, but we might be deficient in vitamin D or, something from nature that our bodies actually need.
Right.
So
Now, you're a social worker, and as am I. That was my first career. And you go from being a social worker, and then you find this new method to help people. And so, where do you start? Like, how do you decide? Like, okay, hey, I'm onto something here. And when did you get like that aha moment that you weren't only helping yourself, but that you were helping other people?
That also happened really naturally, because if I find something that I love
Organically,
right?
Yeah, that word, organic.
Right. Yeah. So the process was even organic.
Yeah.
But if I find something that I love or something that helps me or helps my family, I'm going to talk about it.
Right.
And so I did, and I did not realize at first my intention was not to help other people also change their lives drastically, but it happened, and I found that people would come to me and say, I'm struggling with the same thing, or my child is struggling with the same thing, or do you know anything that could help X, Y, or Z?
Right.
And I did, because I had been researching relentlessly for my own family, and when you have a family of 5, chances are that most of the issues people come with you, we've had some kind of experience with. So it happened like that, and then also my doctor in Birmingham, Dr. Jessica, she's mentored me. She's taken me in and helped me also learn how to empower and educate other people.
So what type of doctor is she? She's MD, or?
She's a chiropractor.
Okay.
But again, her own journey and to really expand her practice and the people she meets started with her own daughter, who had a life-threatening disease, and they were kind of given no hope, no answers. And being a chiropractor, she knew and fully understood how the body worked, and that it could repair itself. And so she didn't take that for an answer, and that started her own quest. So she does a lot more than just chiropractic work. She does a lot with nutrition and emotions and everything that plays a role in the body.
Right. And I get that. I remember so vividly, this was about, I want to tell you, maybe like a little over a year ago, when I went to the doctor, and the doctor tells me, you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life. And I'm like, so you don't get it. I'm going to live till I'm 99. That's a long time, and that's unacceptable.
Right.
And she said, oh, honey, what is unacceptable is the fact that you don't accept it. I said, oh, really? I'm like,
tell me I can't.
No, tell me that I can't. Right.
Watch
that was it. Don't threaten that. Bad word. So and that's when I started my quest, and I was like, okay, I need help. And I remember my assistant at the time, Natasha she was like one of the kooky people.
Right.
And she was like, everything was organic, and she was using essential oils, and she was using things that I was like, and she's like, look, this is going to be, she was seeing a kinesiologist. And I was like, what is that?
Right.
And what started out as me being curious because I thought it was kooky, but she was healthier than I was, was where my quest started. And I think the determination was, when I started taking the different direction.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is your approach to working with people who desire to make health changes?
Right. So obviously everyone is really different. So there's not just a one-size-fits-all, do these 3 things and you'll magically be where you want to be.
Right.
But I take an approach where we address 4 different categories, and each one has different things within it. So we talk about movement, environment, their menu, and emotions. And of course, each of those are multifaceted, and each person is in a different place and ready or not ready to change different things. But like when we look at movement, of course, I'm a huge advocate for chiropractic care. My husband is in the process of becoming a chiropractor.
Oh, okay.
And
he's in the right place. They have like all these colleges.
Right. Yeah, he's in school here. Yeah. And so he, chiropractic played that huge of an impact on our family. And I had never seen a chiropractor until I was an adult. I thought it was a little quirky.
Quirky,
I
yeah.
had that stereotype.
Yeah.
But I watched it transform my family's life, and you can't see that and then unsee it.
Right. No, and it's an experience, right? So
Yeah.
that's the difference between knowing something in your head and then having experience.
Right.
Experience just, it changes,
Exactly.
it trumps
Yes.
anything that you think you know.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's so many different types of chiropractors and so many different techniques. And the same way in finding anyone that you're going to receive services from regularly, you want to find one who is a good fit for you.
Right.
And so that has just been a huge role. But when we talk about movement, we also talk about exercise and stretching. Your lymphatic system doesn't function without movement. So if we're completely sedentary, your immune system can't be as strong as it could be as if you were moving. And exercise looks different for everyone. Some people need lots of rigorous intensity, and a lot of people don't. And actually, over-exercising could be harmful. So, we want to look at the individual and what they actually need. And I also put sleep in the movement category, because stopping that movement for enough time, most of us, me included, this is the hardest category for everything for me, is getting to bed before 10 o'clock. Or by 10 o'clock.
By 10 o'clock.
Yes.
I had Bruno de Gama a few weeks back, and he's he's coined himself as the Brazilian health nut, and he was also talking about sleep and how critical that is for the body, and he was saying that different people have different sleep patterns.
Yes.
I do well with 6 hours. Actually, 8 to like 9 hours for me is an overkill, and it's too much. I get up tired, which is really bizarre. But he says that, but by knowing that, he says you change everything.
Right.
So.
Right. And when we sleep is when our body is restoring itself and repairing itself. So, and most of that happens before the midnight hour. So for people who don't necessarily need a long amount of sleep, still getting to bed earlier, maybe getting up earlier would be, but like you said, everyone's going to be different in that, and so it's, and then we talk about environment, what in your physical, like in your body environment, is causing issues, but in the air, one of the first things that was very overwhelming for me to change that I learned about was the things I was cleaning my home with were completely destroying my endocrine system, which is the thyroid. Your hormones can be completely shifted off balance from synthetic chemicals on the skin, so cosmetics and perfumes and air freshener and household cleaning, and that was very overwhelming to me, but just slowly, little by little, we changed that, and I noticed a huge difference for us. So you want to look at the environment, and then menu was another.
I know you do a lot of stuff with the paleo.
Right,
yeah,
I do.
Which after the show we're going to talk more
okay.
about. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely that's something I want to look more into.
Yeah, food changed our lives, and I've always loved all food. I've been a big eater my whole life, and I'm not a picky eater, so like everything sounds great to me.
Game,
I mean, I could eat a filet mignon, and I could eat it at McDonald's, and I would love it.
Oh no,
not anymore.
No, but I never did.
Well, that's good.
Even as a child, I never liked McDonald's. I don't like fast foods.
That's good.
And I don't like burgers. No, fast foods, right? Yeah. Fat foods, which is...
Right. Yeah,
right.
So we did a lot to change our menu. And again, that also looks different for different people. I needed something really drastic because I was in a really bad place. But some people do great just altering their menu a little bit. So we look at that on an individual way. And then the emotions, which this was the most foreign concept to me. How in the world do my what do they have anything to do with my physical health? I was very disconnected, and that's something that I have found is very common. We don't consider when we're looking at especially chronic issues, there is almost always a deep emotional root to that. Yeah. And so if we can get to that and figure out...
Really? I find it bizarre, though, that you wouldn't have...
Well, I could have seen it. Maybe it was,
just okay, that, yeah,
but
right.
As far as, I understood having healthy emotional expression and things was important, but I didn't connect that to physical health necessarily. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a big disconnect for me. So that's been very cool.
Okay. So basically, and I'm going to go from that therapeutic standpoint, you attacked health in an interdisciplinary. That's what we do as therapists. I know that. I mean, again, I have a small practice, but I don't do it as much as I did. But as a therapist, that was one of the things that we had interdisciplinary. We had to look at all the different facets of an individual, and you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it with health.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and in a completely natural approach.
Right.
Which is wonderful because it's empowering others. They're not dependent on me. You know, once they understand some concepts and they have some tools, then they can take care of themselves and their own families and friends, and that has been the most rewarding thing, is that I'm not creating, you know, that dependency. It's exactly the opposite. It's empowerment.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what limitations do you have as a health coach and a strategist?
So, I would say my limitations would be I can't diagnose, I can't prescribe anything, I can't treat anything. So, if someone comes to me and says, I have strep throat, what can I do to fix it? I can't tell them what to fix it. What I can do, though, is tell them how to enable their bodies to create an environment that can no longer live. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a very different, it was a complete mindset shift for me, because I had always, up until about 5 or 6 years ago, thought something's wrong. You fix it, you know, whether it be with a pill or whatever. It was more like just symptom management.
Okay.
And so while that seems like a limitation to me, it also is a tremendous, exciting strength of this approach, because it in some ways can be a lot harder. So I might say, you know what, things that viruses and the disease process love are sugar and dairy and grains. So let's not eat those, you know, for a week. That's usually not super fun for a lot of people.
Right, exactly.
It's a lot easier to just take something. And I'm not specifically talking about strep throat here, because I can't prescribe treatments.
But that's what you did for me, because I remember it was with the essential oils. So you told me, okay, so take the, what was it? It was take the lemon essential oil, take the pure lemon, the peppermint, and lavender. And I called you like a week later, and I was like, it doesn't work. And you were like, okay, so tell me a little bit about your diet. And I realized that as much as I love dairy, I had to cut it off. I had to cut it completely off. And I see now, because I've been off of it, when I go back, or because I love cheese.
I know.
And you're like, no, get rid of that. Try. You told me the same thing. Try it for a week and see. And I saw an instant, and you were like, so then you also had me add other things to the essential oils, and that right there, I mean, it's just, that started changing everything. So I went from having a chronic problem that I was going to have for the rest of my life to within, I tell you, I think it was within a month that it just changed everything, and with no medication. No medication.
Which is so exciting. And so you just empowered your own body to do what it knows how to do. And so that's what we do. We look at what things do we need to remove from your life, and then what things do we need to add, and to enable the body to do what our bodies are so smart. They're brilliant. I mean, if you think about what all the body does without us even telling it to or thinking, our heart is beating, you know, everything stays in balance. And if it's getting something that is creating an unpleasant environment, it's going to tell us whether it's going to, you know. So to me, a symptom doesn't need to be covered. It's a message to us to listen to. So your body was communicating to you, this is producing way too much mucus and we can't handle it, so we're just going to keep shutting down until you change something.
So you pay attention.
Hello.
And I tell you, it was almost that, you know, because I was using the essential oils for a little bit, and then when you were like, okay, so change this in your diet, cut out all of the dairy, and it was almost like my body was like, hello, thank you. Here, we're having a party. And that, it was like almost instantaneous. So it wasn't isolated. It wasn't like just the one thing. I needed to change, you know, the dairy. So so I'm a futurist, and and innovation is huge for me. And where do you see this going in the future? Because I have to tell you, the way I see what you're doing and the way that I see essential oils, we're kind of going back to the future.
Right.
Because this is very biblical. Like, all of this, I mean, honestly, the Bible tells you exactly, you know, what you need to heal yourself. And one of the things that the Bible is known for is praying over people and praying with them with oil.
Yes.
And these oils are these biblical oils that are way back. So we're going back to the future.
Right.
So what direction do you see?
Yes, these are really ancient practices. They really are.
Mm-hmm.
I see, first of all, the FDA is very, very strict with what we are allowed to say and do in regards to essential oils.
I wonder why.
So that is tricky because I have to be very careful how I speak about it. And for people who don't understand this concept and maybe haven't tried them yet, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It sounds like I'm speaking in some kind of weird, vague, you know, code language.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it kind of is. Like, see if you can figure out what I mean by this may support healthy digestion, you know. So we have to be very, very careful with that. However, what I'm finding is more and more people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they are willing and ready to try whatever they need to try. And that looks different for everybody.
Yeah, so I went from thinking my system was a little kooky to saying, if it works, I'm willing to try it. So
yeah, that's how I was very skeptical. In fact, my husband and I still joke, we went on our honeymoon to Costa Rica. This has been 12 or 13 years ago. And he bought essential oils while we were there from someone on the island. And I made fun of him. I joked, and I'm like, oh, are you going to put your eucalyptus on now? And I just kind of teased him. I was, you know, real skeptical, kind of sarcastic, and now, but it took me kind of being humbled, but in a place of needing some big changes.
Well, the medication that I was taking was totally killing me. It was totally, I mean, I felt worse with the medication than I did being sick. So it was, I didn't have the mucus, and but my body was just so angry. It was almost like my body was actually talking to me, like, what are you doing? Like I tell you, my whole character changed with the prednisone, and it was so disturbing to me. So I was like, this is no quality of life one way or the other. And, you know, by taking that chance, because I mean, it was taking a chance. I felt a little weird, and then I also was, on some level, I was embarrassed because I made fun of it, like, so much, and I was organic food, and I was like, that'll kill you, you know, to having to humble myself and say, okay, I'm willing to try this, and when it worked, Sarah, it was like, I'm going to have to stick to this, you know, so it was sort of humbling. So, do you see this in the future? Do you see more people going?
I do. I really do. And I see that it is such an empowered approach that I'm seeing moms feel so empowered to care for their families without being completely dependent on someone just telling them what to do. And that's huge. For us to be able to take care of ourselves and take care of the people we love, it's huge. And
to feel energetic, to feel better, to be, because the thing is, what I found with the essential oils, and what I found by making those few tweaks, and I know that I have more to go, but by making those few tweaks, that experience was amazing. I felt so good. And I was so excited to feel that, like, for the first time, well, in a very long time. You know,
and it's very simple, and it's just a matter of empowering people with tools and education. You know, check out this book. You know, read this article and try these tools, and you know, let's look at it. And people can do that on their own. You know, they might need some guidance initially, but then we're no longer dependent on, you know, a system or a person to feel and live the way that we want to live. So I think that it will continue to grow, and we'll see this become more the norm.
More the norm,
I hope so.
I do too, only because I saw what it did in my life, and that, you know, That was huge. It's been a year now. Actually, I have to tell you how it started. I went to Tara's house, and I was sitting in the living room, and I was, for the first time, I felt like I could breathe, even with medication.
Right.
And then I went and I sat on the table, and she had the diffuser on, and I was like, oh my God, I can breathe. I'm like, oh my God, it smells so good here. I couldn't even taste my food.
Right.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
I had no taste buds. And I was like, Tara, what do you have in this house? I'm sitting next to the diffuser. I'm clueless, right?
Yeah.
So, which my sisters always tease me about, because the most obvious things are the things that I don't even notice.
Right.
So, and I'm sitting, and she was like, oh, it's that diffuser. And I said, oh, but this is just like air. Like, it's just blowing something out. Like, what is it? And she said, she just started, I was going after her. Like, she was like, I have to, because the kids were going with her mom, and she was like busy doing stuff, and I'm like, I want that, and she's like, yeah, okay, we'll get to it. She goes, I just have to, I gotta get the kids out of the house, and they're going with my mom, and I have to pack them up or whatever, and I'm literally, right after her to the whole house, and we're going from one room to the next while she's packing the kids up, and I'm like, I have to have it. When do I sign up? I want it. And she was like, okay, so this is what you have to do, and because it was like she didn't realize what it was doing for my life.
Such a big change.
It was in that little while, and it was like, oh my God.
Same
so
here.
yeah, right. So you had the same experience, my sister, and she thought I was a little cookie too.
Sure.
And she was like, I don't know about that.
Well,
but
making change is usually not the easiest thing, and then when you see sometimes, like you said, simple things that make changes that you tweak in your life, and you see the big difference, is like, wow. So
yeah. So it was. It literally changed my life.
Yeah.
I went from my face was poofy and from like not being able to breathe, not being able to taste your food, so you can't enjoy anything, and you're still eating all the wrong things. And even with all that, it was just it was so. I spoke about results, but what results are you seeing in the people that you work with?
So many different things. I mean, my own husband lost 60 pounds when we made this life change, and that was simply from, I changed the way that I was cooking and the foods, and I was not a cook much up until a few years ago when we changed food.
Not a cook.
Yeah. So, but it's, even our food though is really simple. Like, nothing that I make is very complicated. So everything from simple things like that. My husband used to have chronic sinus infections. That completely went away.
Okay.
Behavior issues. So one of my children used to really struggle with rage and just emotions all over the place. And of course, we're a very expressive household. And my husband also is a social worker.
Okay.
And so we look at each other, as professionals and as parents, and think, what do we do?
Right. Because we're supposed to have the answers.
Right. Like, we're just going to take him to someone who has the same education that we do.
Yeah, exactly. To tell us what we already know.
When we changed the food, his behavior completely changed. We have not seen episodes like that since he was 5 years old. He's 10 now. So that has been huge. I've seen that happen with other families with children. I've seen hormonal issues come completely into balance. I've seen people get pregnant who could not. Yeah, just so many different life-changing issues. People with chronic conditions, or I have a dear friend who had horrible, debilitating chronic migraines. Completely changed. I mean, multiple ones a week to maybe 1 or 2 a month, if that now. So you see these kinds of changes, and that's drastically impacts their life. So when we are seeing people's health change this much for the better, you see it ripple into their entire circle of family and friends, because they become more able to live fully who they were meant and called to be. And not only are they empowered to care for themselves, but their whole health and life has been restored in so many ways, to where they now get to do the things that they were meant to do. So it goes really deep, and I get these messages, and I just think, You know, and it's connected me to thousands of people who I otherwise would not have known. And so there's this network all over the country and some internationally as well, of people who just for making these really simple changes are living a completely different life than they would have been. So it's very cool. Yeah.
So, so where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? What do we, because I again, the essential oils are, I personally think what we use is the Young Living.
Right.
And, I just think that's a start. Mm-hmm. Even if you didn't make any other changes, that's a start for the chronic, sinus infection. I knew that I had, I didn't know. You told me that I had to do a little bit more. But, if you can even clean your environment and again, one of the things that I did in 2016, anything that was stressful, I just got rid of it in my life, and got rid of the drama, got rid of, and so because all of those things affect you, affect you physically, and so where do people go? Like, where do they go if they wanted to have more information?
Right. So really the best way, you can actually straight up call me. I will work like on an appointment basis. And also emails. People can call and email to set up consultations. And we have a wonderful network on Facebook for people as well. So we have kind of an introductory group that gives just a little bit of information, and then we have some members groups that are much more in depth.
I know, I love those groups. I love it. I'm a part of that, and because you have the different groups that attack different areas. You have the food, and you have, but then for that you have to have the membership. Right. So so that's awesome. So give me your email address or your number.
My email address is enjoyfunliving@gmail.com, enjoyfunliving@gmail.com, and my phone number is 334-524-3366.
Okay, and if you can let them know that you heard her.
The phone number?
Yeah, the phone number, 334-524-3366.
Okay. And if you can let them know that you heard about her and found her in this Facebook Live, in this interview, that would be awesome.
Yes.
Dr. Nilda, So, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It was
Thank
awesome.
You so much. I'm so glad
we've been talking on the phone for a year, and I finally get to meet you and finally get to do this interview, which I'm really excited about.
Can I ask a question?
Sure can.
Because I'm curious to know, because I know you've made a lot of changes in your life. How has this helped you also in business? Because we're going back to business foresight, and how has this
helped your business?
Helped you, both of you. I mean, because you've made changes in 2016, and
right. Yeah. Well, for me, one of the things that I do is I'm also a distributor of the Young Living, so that's another stream of income. So that's been how it's helped me. So that other stream of income, and I've been able to help people as a result of that. My sister being one of those people. Yeah. So so you tell me how, because the business part of it.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, before these lifestyle changes, I didn't have the energy to do anything. I barely had the energy to function just on the day-to-day. And so changing my lifestyle has enabled me and empowered me and given me the energy and tools and ability for my business. And like I said earlier, my husband is in school, and this is our income, is our Young Living business. And so that has been tremendous, at a season in our life where our three boys, if I didn't have a successful business, they would not have the opportunities they have. And we live very simply. I mean, you're here.
This is beautiful.
We have a tiny little beautiful house.
Beautiful house,
But they would not be able to do things like martial arts and field trips and things like that. So it's made a big impact on our lives personally.
And you're able, and the other thing is that you're able to travel a lot. I always see you traveling.
Right.
And this business affords you the ability to be able to travel with your children. I mean, there's no better experience and no better learning experience for children than to be able to travel.
Right. And many of my trips are business trips.
I know.
But Dr. Noel, they feel so fun. It feels so fun. It doesn't even feel like work. Because I'm going to meet the people that I've helped and continue to empower them with their businesses and their health. And then actually Young Living has paid for several of those trips as well. Okay. So,
Well, the same thing I always, and I say this to people, they say that you have to keep business separate, but in my life, I don't keep business separate because my business pays for all of my trips. Yeah. So I always mix business with pleasure.
Right.
That's my lifestyle.
It's so much a part of our lifestyle. Right. What I do for a business is our lifestyle. So there's not really a way to separate it.
Right.
Because it changed our lives very personally, so it doesn't really separate.
Yeah. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, it does. I mean, and just making that change alone, I think, even enhances the business itself, the business aspect of it. You know, because even though people say you should keep it separate, you honestly, I don't think you can. I don't think, lack of sleep, like you were stating earlier, you really, your brain does not work and function properly. You can't be innovative as you so often talk about, you can't create.
No, you can't create if you're lethargic. You can't create, and that's the reason. Again, I have my practice, and in my small practice is not a big practice at all because I just don't have the time to invest in a large practice because I'm doing the business foresight. But it's funny because I've been able to marry all of these things that I do into multiple streams of income. Yeah. And living being one of them. Right. And I'm able to help a lot of people, with their emotions with the Young Living. Right. Because I am showing them, listen, this is something that, I mean, just when they come into my office alone, they're like, oh my God, it's so awesome here, it's so peaceful, it's so, and I'm like, well, this is one of the reasons why that I can breathe here, or I feel so much better here, and I explain to them what that is, and that again is another stream of income. And
yes, for sure, and just to even manage the stress of running a business. I mean, can we all admit it can be really stressful? Yeah. But if our body is in that stress mode, we don't think clearly. If you think about it, say you're being chased by a bear, are you thinking clearly? Are you able to create? Are you able to come up with new ideas? Can you
run for your life? Right.
And so that's, our body doesn't necessarily know the difference between I'm being attacked by a bear or just regular, stress. I'm driving in traffic. It all processes the same way. But if you have an essential oil that you can smell, because your sense of smell is directly connected to that stress response, that can help calm that down. It changes everything. And again, like what we keep saying, it's a very simple change.
That's one very simple change. And if you can just make one change this year, I would recommend that. I have a diffuser in the car. Yes. I have a diffuser in my office. I have like multiple, wherever I am, I go from one diffuser to, oh my goodness. And each one has, again, a different oil because there are different responses. So one in the car is for the stress and to be able to breathe better, and then I have one in my office, and I have one in my room, and so
we have them in every room.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. So so that if we could make just one change, what change would you recommend?
Gosh, that's a hard question. I think the one change would be to open your mind to be willing to make one of the changes you've heard us talk about today.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome. Absolutely. Because it all starts with the mind. Yeah. Everything starts with that decision. Yeah. When I decided that I didn't mind being a little quirky and doing things a little differently, was when, and that one change changed my life. Right. Yeah. That one change changed my life. I couldn't imagine my life today if I had not taken that step of faith, because that was a big one for me, because I don't like being corny. I don't like being corny, and so that for me was big. Right. So,
and you're doing it your way, which is not corny.
Yeah. Right. You're right. You know what?
Incorporate it into your own.
I didn't even think about that, but you're
gifts and talents.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Sarah, it was so awesome having you here and having you here, me coming to you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so
enjoying
much
your
for coming.
space and taking in the aromas. The minute we walked in, we're like, oh my God, it smells awesome
Yes.
here. And thank you for sharing, because I think our audience, starting 2017, and that was one of the reasons why I chose health for this month. There are different areas of healthcare that we talked about, but because it's important and it's a great way to begin your year. And I think 2017, if they implemented just this one change, is going to really make a big difference in their
Absolutely.
year. So
For sure. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
thank you. So I want to say one more time, this is the last day of going to drnildaperez.com/contest. Again, it's not a contest. I am willing to work with whoever calls, whoever signs up, and let them, we're going to do two things. We're going to do a foresight strategy for 2017 and the direction that your business is going to go. And then we're also going to give you a marketing strategy with yours truly, Rachel Calderon. So I'm looking forward to spending time with some of you guys who, I know a lot of you have signed up. So I'm taking on a big chunk here, but I'm willing to do it because, again, one change can change your life.
Yeah.
Just one change. And so I'm willing to work with you. So have an outstanding 2017. We're going to start off in the right foot the next month. And we have a lot of pop-ups coming up this week, and they're going to be very random. So kind of stay tuned. We're going to put them up, and I think within a very short time we're going to be doing these throughout the month to the end of the year, which is the 31st. The 31st. So we're going to have these pop-up interviews with all fascinating people. So a lot of them were not on the press release because they're random, and I'm kind of finding them everywhere because there's so many people doing fascinating things. But starting January 7th, we have Edwin Rivera, and we're going to be talking, that's going to be a month that's going to be dedicated to finances and how you're going to make changes in your business for finance. This could be personal, this could be business. I focus on business, but just remember, a lot of the stuff that we talk about here, if you apply it to any part of your life, will really change your life. So, all right, that ends this segment, and talk to you soon. I'll see you in the next pop-up.
I want to thank you for being with us on Business Foresight, always creating strategies towards an extraordinary future. Remember, I'm here with you with strategies every Saturday. I'll see you next week.